Listen to One Night and Don't Panic by the Results. Hypnosis and Affirmations Rare. Audiobook. You have lain awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering why your life still feels uncertain despite everything you have tried. You feel the tension in your chest, the restless thoughts moving from one fear to another, and the constant urge to check your phone for proof that something is finally changing. You want peace, but your subconscious keeps asking, what if nothing happens? Tonight, you will learn how to quiet that fear, change the signal you are sending from within, and build a calmer relationship with uncertainty. You will begin by discovering why your mind creates panic even when nothing is actually wrong, and why that hidden pattern may be influencing the way you see your life, your future, and the signs around you. But before you try to change anything, you need to understand what your mind has been doing while you sleep. Chapter 1. You discover why your mind keeps creating panic. You are lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. The room is quiet, but your mind is not. You check your phone again, no new message. You check the time. You think about tomorrow. Then another thought appears. What if it goes wrong? Your chest tightens. You take a breath, but another fear arrives. You try to force yourself to stop thinking, yet the harder you try, the louder the thoughts become. You tell yourself everything will be fine. For a few seconds, you believe it. Then the same question returns. What if something bad happens? This is how panic often begins, not with an actual event, but with a thought about an event. Your mind creates a picture of something that has not happened. Then your body reacts as if it is already happening. Your heart may beat faster. Your breathing may change. Your muscles become tense. Your attention becomes fixed on the possible problem. Your brain is designed to protect you. It watches for danger. It remembers painful experiences. It looks for patterns. When something feels uncertain, the mind often fills the empty space with possibilities. And when you are already worried, your subconscious gives more attention to thoughts that match that worry. This is why one small thought can become 10 thoughts within minutes. You think, what if I fail? Then your mind asks, what will happen after that? Then another thought says, what if everyone sees me fail? Then another says, what if I never recover? None of these events has happened, but your body does not always wait for proof. Your nervous system can respond to imagined danger almost as strongly as it responds to real danger. There is another layer beneath this. Your subconscious mind is always receiving signals from you. It notices the words you repeat. It notices the emotions you practice. It notices what you constantly expect. If you repeatedly expect disappointment, your attention starts searching for evidence of disappointment. If you repeatedly expect rejection, you notice every small sign that could mean rejection. If you repeatedly expect something to go wrong, even neutral events can begin to look threatening. This does not mean your thoughts magically control every event in the universe. You cannot think your way into controlling another person, removing every uncertainty, or guaranteeing a specific outcome. But your inner state can change what you notice, how you behave, what choices you make, and what signals you send into the world. That is where your frequency matters. Your frequency is not something you need to measure. Think of it as the emotional state you repeatedly practice. Fear creates one kind of inner signal. Calm creates another. Trust creates another. When you live in constant fear, you make decisions from fear. When you practice calm, you create space for better decisions. When you develop trust, you stop reacting to every uncertain moment as if it is an emergency. The universe may remain unpredictable. Other people may remain unpredictable. Life may continue to contain things you cannot control. Your work is not to control all of that. Your work is to become steady within yourself. Today, begin with one simple practice. Choose 5 minutes when you will not be interrupted. Sit somewhere comfortable, Put your phone away. Place one hand gently on your chest. Take a slow breath through your nose. Let it out slowly. Do not fight your thoughts. Instead, notice them. When a fearful thought appears, silently say, "This is a thought." It is not a command. Then return your attention to your breathing. Do this for 5 minutes. If 10 fearful thoughts appear, you do not need to solve 10 problems. You only need to notice 10 thoughts and return to your breath. That small distinction matters. You are teaching your subconscious that a thought can appear without controlling you. Tomorrow, take the practice one step further. Before you begin your day, write down 3 thoughts that usually create panic for you. Write them exactly as they appear in your mind. For example, "I am afraid everything will go wrong." Under that sentence, write a calmer statement. "I can handle what comes." Then write another. "I do not need to know the entire future today." Then write one more. "I choose calm before I choose a reaction." Read these statements slowly 3 times. Do not rush. Do not try to force yourself to believe them instantly. Your subconscious learns through repetition. You are giving it a new pattern. During the day, whenever the old thought appears, do not argue with it for 20 minutes. Recognize it. Take one slow breath. Repeat one of your new statements. Then continue with what you were doing. That final step is important. You are not making positive statements so you can spend the rest of the day checking whether they worked. You are practicing a new way of responding. This week, create one small daily ritual around uncertainty. Choose one thing you normally try to control. Maybe it is waiting for a message, waiting for an answer, waiting for a decision, waiting to know whether something will work. When you notice yourself checking repeatedly, stop. Take 3 slow breaths. Say, "What is mine to do, I will do. What is not mine to control, I release." Then, return to your life. If you need to send the message, send it. If you need to prepare, prepare. If you need to make a decision, make it carefully. But after you have done what is yours to do, stop feeding the fear. This is where detachment begins. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop demanding certainty before allowing yourself to feel peaceful. There is a major difference. You can want something deeply and still remain calm. You can hope for a certain result without making your emotional survival depend on it. You can believe that life is moving in your favor while accepting that the exact path may not look the way you expected. That is a much stronger form of trust. Consider someone named Daniel. Daniel was waiting for an important answer about his work. Every few minutes, he checked his phone. He imagined rejection. He imagined embarrassment. He imagined having to start over. One evening, he noticed how exhausted he had become. He put the phone across the room. He took 5 slow breaths. Then he wrote down the thought that kept returning. "If this does not work, everything is ruined." He replaced it with, "If this does not work, I will deal with the next step when it arrives." That sentence did not guarantee the result. It did something more useful. It brought him back to the present. The next morning, he followed the same practice. He completed the work he still needed to complete. He stopped checking his phone every few minutes. By the afternoon, he noticed something strange. The situation had not changed yet, but he had. His mind was quieter. He could think clearly again. He could work again. He could eat without constantly thinking about the answer. And when the answer finally arrived, he was able to respond instead of panic. That is the shift you are practicing. You are not trying to create a life where nothing unexpected happens. You are creating an inner state where unexpected things do not automatically destroy your peace. Your subconscious does not need endless pressure. It needs consistent signals. Every calm breath is a signal. Every moment you refuse to chase a fearful thought is a signal. Every time you choose a grounded action instead of an impulsive reaction, you strengthen a different pattern. Over time, the old response becomes less automatic. You begin to notice the first moment when panic tries to enter. That moment is powerful, because you can interrupt the pattern before it grows. You can pause before replying. You can breathe before deciding. You can wait before assuming. You can observe before judging. You can trust yourself without pretending that you know everything. And slowly, uncertainty becomes something you can sit with. There will still be nights when your mind becomes loud. There will still be moments when you feel afraid. Do not treat those moments as failure. Your goal is not to become a person who never feels fear. Your goal is to become a person who does not automatically obey fear. Tonight, when your mind begins creating another frightening future, do something different. Do not chase the thought. Do not fight the thought. Do not demand an immediate answer from life. Take one slow breath. Place your attention on what is actually happening right now. Then say quietly, I have done what I can. I release what I cannot control. I choose peace before I know the result. After that, put the phone down. Close your eyes. Let tomorrow remain tomorrow. Your challenge is simple. For the next 7 days, catch yourself at the first sign of panic and choose one calm response instead of one fearful reaction. Do it every time you remember. Do it especially when you want to check, chase, predict, or control. And tonight, before you sleep, give your subconscious one final signal. I am safe enough to rest. I do not need to solve tomorrow tonight. Chapter 2. Your subconscious reveals the fear beneath everything. There is a moment when the outside world becomes quiet, but something inside you refuses to become quiet with it. You turn off the light. You put your phone down. You close your eyes. For a few seconds, everything seems peaceful. Then a thought appears. What if I lose what I have? What if they leave? What if I fail? What if the future does not become what I hoped? You try to push the thought away, but it returns. Sometimes it returns stronger. You may think the problem is the thought itself, but often the thought is only the surface. Beneath it, there is an older fear asking to be noticed. Your conscious mind usually focuses on the immediate problem. Your subconscious mind stores patterns. It remembers emotional experiences. It connects situations together. It learns from repetition. This means your reaction to a situation may be much larger than the situation itself. Someone takes longer to reply to you. The event is simple. They have not replied yet. But your mind may immediately create a story. Maybe they are angry. Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe something is about to happen. The silence becomes the trigger. But the fear existed before the silence. The silence simply touched it. This is why you can sometimes feel panic even when you know, logically, that everything may be fine. Your conscious mind says, there is no evidence that anything is wrong. Your subconscious says, I have felt this before. And the subconscious does not always speak in complete sentences. Sometimes it speaks through tension, sometimes through urgency, sometimes through the need to check your phone again, sometimes through the feeling that you must solve something immediately. You may call this anxiety. You may call it overthinking. You may call it intuition. But you need to learn the difference between intuition and fear. Fear usually demands. It says, do something now. Check again. Ask again. Find out. Make sure. Do not relax until you know. Intuition is usually quieter. It does not need to create chaos to get your attention. It gives you a sense of direction without forcing you into panic. Learning this difference can change the way you respond to your inner world. Your subconscious is not your enemy. It is trying to protect you with the information it has collected. If you once experienced rejection, your subconscious may become sensitive to signs of rejection. If you once experienced failure, it may become sensitive to situations that resemble failure. If you were repeatedly told that you were not good enough, part of you may continue expecting proof that you are not good enough, even after you have grown far beyond those old words. The mind learns what it repeatedly experiences. This is why fear can feel so familiar. Familiar does not mean true. A familiar thought is simply a thought your mind has practiced many times. You may have practiced, something will go wrong, for years. You may have practiced, people will leave, for years. You may have practiced, I am not enough, for years. You may have practiced, I have to control everything, for years. And because the pattern is familiar, your mind can mistake it for reality. This is one of the deepest reasons people struggle to relax when life is going well. Their external situation improves, but their internal expectation remains the same. They receive good news, but they wait for bad news. They find love, but they fear losing it. They earn money, but they immediately worry about losing it. They reach a goal, but they begin worrying about the next goal. The subconscious is not always asking, what is happening? It may be asking, what usually happens next? That is why you must begin changing the pattern beneath the surface. Do not start by demanding that every fearful thought disappear. Start by becoming curious. When panic appears, ask yourself one question. What am I actually afraid will happen? Not, why am I like this? Not, what is wrong with me? Ask, what am I afraid will happen? Then wait. Give yourself a few seconds. Maybe the answer is, I am afraid they will leave. Then ask, if they leave, what am I afraid that means about me? Perhaps the answer is, it means I am not lovable. Now you have reached a deeper layer. The original trigger was a delayed message. The deeper fear was not the message. The deeper fear was being unworthy of love. This is how you begin to understand your subconscious. You follow the fear beneath the event. You do not judge it. You listen to it. Today, practice this with one fear. Choose something that has been bothering you recently. Write the situation in one sentence. For example, I am afraid I will not get the opportunity I want. Then write, if that happens, what would I believe about myself? Answer honestly. Maybe you write, I would believe I am a failure. Then ask again, if I were a failure, what would that mean? Maybe you discover, I would feel like I am falling behind everyone else. Now you have found something much deeper than the original concern. You are not simply afraid of losing an opportunity. You may be afraid of being left behind. That distinction matters, because you cannot heal the deeper fear if you keep arguing with the surface problem. You can spend hours checking whether the opportunity is still available. But if the real fear is that you are not enough, no external result will permanently satisfy you. You may get the opportunity and still worry about losing it. You may receive praise and still fear criticism. You may achieve success and still feel one mistake away from being exposed. The external world cannot permanently silence an internal belief that you are unsafe. That belief must be changed from within. Tomorrow, practice a second exercise. When you notice a fearful thought, place your hand over your chest and say, I hear you. That may sound simple. It is, but it creates a different relationship with your mind. You are no longer fighting yourself. Then say, you are trying to protect me. Take one slow breath. Then ask, what do you need me to understand? Do not expect a dramatic answer. You may remember something from years ago. You may notice a belief you have carried for a long time. You may simply feel sadness. Allow it. You are not trying to create a perfect spiritual experience. You are becoming honest with yourself. Sometimes the fear beneath panic is not about the future at all. It is about the past. You may be reacting to an old wound through a new situation. Someone raises their voice, and suddenly you feel small. Someone becomes distant, and suddenly you feel abandoned. Someone criticizes your work, and suddenly you feel worthless. The present moment is real, but your emotional reaction may contain history. When you understand this, you gain space. You can say, "This feeling is real, but it may not be telling me the whole truth about this moment." That sentence can save you from many impulsive decisions. This week, practice separating facts from stories. Whenever something triggers you, take a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. On the first side, write "What I know." On the second side, write "What I fear." Under "What I know," write only facts. For example, "They have not replied yet." That is a fact. Under "What I fear," you might write, "They are angry with me. They are leaving. I did something wrong. I am going to lose them." Those are possibilities. They are not facts. This simple practice teaches your mind to stop treating imagination as evidence. That is a major shift. Your subconscious often reacts to the story before you have checked the facts. You are training yourself to pause between the two. And that pause is where freedom begins. There is also something else you need to understand. You cannot always think your way out of fear. Sometimes your body needs to learn safety through experience. That is why slow breathing matters. That is why sleep matters. That is why walking, movement, quiet time, and consistent routines matter. Your mind is connected to your body. When your body is constantly exhausted and overstimulated, fearful thoughts can feel much more convincing. So do not make everything a spiritual problem. Sometimes you need rest. Sometimes you need food. Sometimes you need to step away from the screen. Sometimes you need to stop consuming information that keeps your mind in a constant state of alarm. Protecting your inner frequency also means protecting what you repeatedly allow into your attention. Your subconscious is always learning. Every message you consume, every conversation you repeat, every fear you rehearse, every story you tell yourself, they all become part of your mental environment. This does not mean you must avoid every negative thought. It means you should become selective about what you practice. If you spend hours feeding fear, do not be surprised when fear becomes easier to access. If you spend time practicing calm, patience, gratitude, and trust, those states become easier to access too. You are shaping your default response. Consider Maya. Maya had a habit of assuming the worst whenever someone became quiet around her. One afternoon, her manager did not respond to an important message. Within minutes, Maya thought she had made a serious mistake. She wanted to send 3 more messages. She wanted to explain herself. She wanted immediate reassurance. Instead, she remembered the exercise. She wrote down what she knew. Her manager had not replied. That was all. Then she wrote down what she feared. She was being judged. She had made a mistake. She might lose the opportunity. She looked at the list and noticed something. None of the fears were facts. She took a breath and waited. A few hours later, her manager replied. He had been in meetings all afternoon. Nothing was wrong. But the important change had already happened before the message arrived. Maya had learned that she could experience uncertainty without immediately reacting to it. That is strength. Not knowing everything and still remaining steady. Not having every answer and still choosing peace. Not controlling the outcome and still doing what is yours to do. Your subconscious learns through these moments. Every time you experience uncertainty and discover that you can remain calm, you create new evidence. You teach your nervous system, I can handle not knowing. You teach your mind, a delay is not automatically danger. You teach your deeper self, I do not need to control every outcome to be okay. This is where your relationship with the universe can become more peaceful. You do not need to believe that every event is a secret sign. You do not need to interpret every coincidence. You do not need to force life to give you exactly what you want. You can simply become more aligned with the person you want to be while allowing life to unfold. That means acting with intention, speaking with care, making responsible choices, keeping your promises, and then releasing the need to control every consequence. Your subconscious becomes calmer when your actions and beliefs begin moving in the same direction. If you say you trust life, but spend every hour checking for proof, your body notices the contradiction. If you say you believe you are worthy, but constantly accept treatment that makes you feel worthless, your actions send another signal. Alignment is not about repeating perfect affirmations. It is about bringing your thoughts, words, and actions closer together. Start small. When fear tells you to chase, pause. When fear tells you to assume, check the facts. When fear tells you to control, identify what is actually yours to control. When fear tells you that one result determines your entire future, remember that your life is larger than one moment. Your subconscious does not need perfection from you. It needs repetition. So repeat calm, repeat honesty, repeat patience, repeat responsible action, repeat trust. Not blind trust, grounded trust. The kind of trust that says, I will do my part, I will learn from what happens, I will face what comes. I do not need to suffer through every possible future before it arrives. Tonight, before you sleep, choose one fear you have been carrying. Do not solve it. Write it down. Ask what it is protecting. Ask what it believes will happen. Ask what that would mean about you. Keep going until you reach the deeper belief. Then place your hand over your chest and say, slowly, I see the fear beneath the fear. I do not need to fight myself. I can choose a new response. I can allow what I cannot control. I can trust myself to meet tomorrow when tomorrow arrives. Then close your eyes. Do not search for a sign. Do not demand a result. Simply rest. Your subconscious is listening to the way you treat yourself. And from this moment forward, your challenge is to notice the fear beneath every major reaction for 7 days. Do not run from it. Do not feed it. Do not obey it automatically. Find it. Listen to it. Then choose your response consciously. The next time your mind says, something is wrong, pause and ask one question. What am I really afraid this means about me? Stay with the answer. That is where the deeper pattern begins to change. Chapter 3. The signal changes when you change belief. You wake up before the alarm. For a moment, you do not know why. Then you remember the thing you have been thinking about, the decision, the relationship, the money, the result you are waiting for. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind has already chosen a direction. You think, something is going to go wrong. Your body responds. Your stomach tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. You reach for your phone. You look for evidence. One small detail catches your attention, and suddenly it seems to confirm everything you feared. But there is another possibility you have not considered. What if the world did not change in that moment? What if the signal you were sending changed first? A belief is more powerful than a passing thought. A thought can appear and disappear. A belief is something you have accepted as true often enough that your mind begins to operate from it. You may think, this might not work. But if deep inside you believe, things never work out for me, your mind will organize your attention around that belief. You will notice the delay. You will notice the mistake. You will notice the person who did not respond. You may overlook the opportunity that appeared quietly. You may dismiss the progress because it does not match the story you already believe. This is how beliefs shape perception. Your mind does not simply record reality. It filters reality. There is too much information around you to notice everything. Your brain has to decide what deserves attention. Your beliefs help influence that decision. If you believe you are unsafe, you become more alert to danger. If you believe you are unwanted, you become more sensitive to rejection. If you believe you are capable, you are more likely to notice opportunities to act. If you believe that one failure means you are finished, you may avoid situations where failure is possible. Your belief becomes part of the signal you carry into each situation. This is why changing your life often begins with changing what you believe is possible for you. But be careful. Changing belief does not mean pretending. You do not need to stand in front of a mirror and say, "Everything is perfect," when you clearly feel that it is not. Your subconscious knows when your words and your emotional state are fighting each other. Instead, you begin with a belief that feels possible. If your current belief is, "Nothing ever works for me," do not force yourself to say, "Everything always works perfectly." Start with, "Things can change." That is believable. Then, "I can respond differently." Also believable. Then, "I can create better patterns." Again believable. You are not trying to fool your mind. You are giving your mind a new direction. This is where affirmations become useful. An affirmation is not a magic sentence. It is a repeated statement designed to guide attention and reinforce a chosen belief. The words matter, but the way you use them matters more. If you repeat an affirmation while secretly checking whether the universe has already delivered your desired result, you are still practicing doubt. You are saying one thing with your mouth and another thing with your behavior. You say, "I trust." Then you check. You say, "I am worthy." Then you seek approval from everyone. You say, "I release control." Then you spend hours trying to predict the future. Your actions reveal the deeper belief. So today, choose one belief that creates the most unnecessary fear in your life. Maybe it is, "I am always behind." "I am going to lose everything." "I am not good enough." "I have to control everything." "People always leave." "I cannot trust life." Choose only one. Write it down. Then write a new belief beside it. Make the new belief realistic and strong. If the old belief is, "I have to control everything," your new belief might be, "I can control my actions without controlling every outcome." If the old belief is, "I am not good enough," your new belief might be, "My worth does not depend on one result." If the old belief is, "Everything will go wrong," your new belief might be, "I can face uncertainty without assuming the worst." Read your new belief slowly in the morning. Read it again in the afternoon. Read it once before sleep. But do not simply repeat the words. Pause for a few seconds after each statement. Allow your mind to consider it. Ask yourself, what would I do differently if this were true? That question brings the belief into your behavior. Suppose your new belief is, "I can face uncertainty without assuming the worst." What would you do differently? Maybe you would stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. Maybe you would wait before sending another message. Maybe you would focus on your work instead of constantly predicting an outcome. That is how belief becomes behavior. and behavior creates new evidence. New evidence strengthens the belief. The cycle begins to change. Tomorrow, practice a second exercise. Choose one situation that normally triggers you. Before entering that situation, take 3 slow breaths. Then ask yourself, what belief am I bringing into this moment? Do not answer quickly. Maybe you realize you are entering a conversation believing they are going to criticize me. That belief changes your posture. It changes your tone. It changes what you hear. You may become defensive before the other person has even said anything. Now choose a different belief. I can listen without immediately defending myself. That belief creates a different signal. You become more present. You hear more clearly. You give yourself time to respond. The conversation may change, not because you controlled the other person, because you changed your participation in the conversation. This is an important principle. Changing belief does not mean controlling other people. It means changing the part of the situation that belongs to you. You cannot force someone to love you. You cannot force someone to stay. You cannot force an employer to choose you. You cannot force the universe to follow your preferred schedule. But you can change how you show up. You can become calmer. You can become more prepared. You can communicate more clearly. You can stop abandoning yourself because you are afraid someone else might leave. That is real inner power. There is another belief that creates enormous panic. The belief that you must know the outcome before you can relax. This belief makes people constantly seek signs. They ask, is this going to work? Is this person right for me? Is money coming? Did the universe hear me? Was that coincidence a sign? There is nothing wrong with seeking meaning, but if you need constant confirmation before you allow yourself to feel okay, you have turned signs into another form of control. You are not listening. You are checking. There is a difference. A calmer relationship with the universe says, I will notice what is placed in front of me, but I will not force every event to become a message. You can trust without constantly searching. You can believe without constantly checking. You can hope without becoming desperate. That is where detachment begins to support belief. You choose your direction. Then you allow life to respond in its own timing. This does not mean becoming passive. You still act. You still work. You still prepare. You still make decisions. But you stop demanding that every action produce an immediate reward. This week, create a 7-day belief experiment. Choose one new belief. Write it at the top of a page. For 7 days, record one action each day that supports it. If your belief is, I can trust myself, then on Monday, make one decision without asking 5 people for reassurance. On Tuesday, complete one task you have been avoiding. On Wednesday, say no to something that does not serve you. On Thursday, keep one promise you made to yourself. On Friday, handle one uncomfortable situation without running away. On Saturday, spend time without checking whether someone approves of you. On Sunday, write down what you learned. You are giving your subconscious evidence. You are showing it that the new belief is not just a sentence. It is becoming part of how you live. Consider a woman named Sarah. Sarah believed that if something good happened, she would eventually lose it. She had received a new opportunity at work, but instead of enjoying it, she was already afraid of making a mistake. Every morning, she checked her messages repeatedly. She reread emails. She worried about small errors. She stayed late because she believed that one mistake would prove she did not deserve the opportunity. One morning she wrote a different belief. I am allowed to grow without being perfect. She read it before work. Then she asked herself, what would someone who believes this do today? She stopped rereading every email 5 times. She asked questions when she needed help. She accepted that learning included mistakes. A few weeks later, her work had not become perfect. Something more important had changed. She no longer treated every mistake as evidence that she was about to lose everything. Her signal had changed. Her behavior changed. Her relationships changed. Her confidence changed. And because her attention was no longer consumed by fear, she began seeing possibilities she had previously ignored. That is how a belief can change the experience of your life. Not through magic, through attention, through behavior, through repeated emotional practice, through decisions, through patience. Your subconscious learns from what you repeatedly demonstrate. If you want it to believe that you are safe, show it that you can handle uncertainty. If you want it to believe that you are worthy, stop using rejection as a measurement of your value. If you want it to believe that you can succeed, take consistent action even when you are not guaranteed success. If you want it to believe that you can trust life, stop demanding certainty before every step. The signal changes when your inner belief changes. And your belief changes fastest when your actions begin supporting it. This is why you should not wait until you feel completely confident. Confidence often comes after action. You take the step. You survive the discomfort. You learn, you adjust. Then your subconscious receives new evidence. I did it. I handled that. I survived uncertainty. I made a decision. I recovered from disappointment. I continued. These experiences are powerful. They become part of your internal identity. Eventually, the old belief starts losing its authority, not because you fought it, because you stopped feeding it. There may still be days when the old thought returns. Do not panic when it does. A familiar belief can echo for a while after you stop practicing it. You do not need to respond to every echo. Notice it. Name it. Choose again. That is the discipline. Your mind will offer old patterns because old patterns are efficient. You are teaching it a new pattern. Give it time. Give it repetition. Give it proof. And most importantly, give it patience. Tonight, before you sleep, choose one belief you are ready to change. Write the old belief on one side of a page. Write the new belief on the other. Then close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths. Read the new belief silently. After each breath, ask yourself, what would change in my life if I truly lived from this belief? Do not search for a dramatic answer. Listen quietly. Maybe one small action comes to mind. Take that action tomorrow. Then take another the next day. This is how your signal begins to change. Not because you forced the universe, not because you demanded a specific result, because you became different in the place where every decision begins, inside your own mind. So your challenge is this. For the next 7 days, choose one belief that has been creating fear and refuse to reinforce it through your actions. Catch yourself when you begin acting from the old belief. Pause, breathe, choose the new belief, then act accordingly. Do this even when nobody sees it. Do this even when the result has not appeared. Do this when doubt tells you it is pointless, because the real test is not whether you can believe when everything is going your way. The real test is whether you can choose a better belief while the old fear is still speaking. Tonight, choose your belief. Tomorrow, live it. Chapter 4. You learn to reprogram your inner conversation. You are standing in front of the mirror, getting ready for the day. You make one small mistake. Maybe you spill something. Maybe you forget an appointment. Maybe you look tired. A sentence appears before you can stop it. I am such a mess. You keep getting ready, but the sentence stays with you. Later, something else goes wrong. You think, of course this happened to me. Someone does not answer your message. You think, they probably do not care. A difficult task appears. You think, I am never going to be good enough. You may barely notice these sentences anymore because they have become familiar, but your mind is listening to every one of them. The conversation inside your mind is one of the most repeated conversations you will ever have. You hear it when you wake up. You hear it while you work. You hear it when you are alone. You hear it before you sleep. And because you hear it so often, you may stop questioning it. You begin to mistake repetition for truth. A thought that has been repeated for years can feel like a fact. But a thought is not automatically true because it feels familiar. Your inner conversation is often a collection of old conclusions. Some came from your experiences. Some came from people who spoke to you when you were young. Some came from rejection. Some came from comparison. Some came from failure. Some came from moments when you felt powerless. You may have turned one painful experience into a permanent sentence. You failed once, and your mind said, I am bad at this. Someone rejected you, and your mind said, nobody will choose me. You trusted someone and were hurt, and your mind said, I cannot trust anyone. You made a financial mistake, and your mind said, I will never have enough. The event happened once. The sentence remained. This is how inner programming develops. Your subconscious learns through repetition, emotion, and attention. When you repeat a sentence again and again, especially during strong emotion, the sentence can become easier to access. Eventually, you do not need to consciously choose it. It appears automatically. That is why you can sometimes criticize yourself before anyone else has said anything. You can reject yourself before someone else has the chance. You can assume failure before you have tried. You can create fear around a situation that has not even happened. Your inner conversation can become a prediction system. And if the conversation is constantly negative, your mind begins looking for evidence to support it. Suppose you tell yourself, people do not respect me. You enter a conversation already expecting disrespect. Someone interrupts you. You notice it immediately. Someone agrees with you. You barely notice. Someone compliments your work. You wonder if they are only being polite. The mind searches for evidence that fits the belief. This is why reprogramming your inner conversation matters. You are not trying to create fake positivity. You are changing the questions, statements, and conclusions that guide your attention. There is a difference between saying, everything is perfect, and saying, I can handle what is happening. The first may feel impossible when life is difficult. The second can be true even during difficulty. You do not need to lie to yourself. You need to speak to yourself in a way that creates strength. Start today with one rule. Do not believe every sentence your mind produces. When you notice a harsh thought, pause. Do not immediately argue with it. Do not immediately replace it with an extreme positive statement. First, identify it. Say silently, I am having the thought that I am not good enough. Notice the difference. You are no longer saying, I am not good enough. You are saying, I am having the thought that I am not good enough. That small change creates distance. The thought becomes something you are observing. It is no longer your identity. Now ask yourself, what evidence supports this thought? Then ask, what evidence does not support it? You may discover that your mind has been using one mistake to describe your entire life. That is not accuracy. That is fear. Then ask a third question. What is a more useful and honest way to see this? Maybe the original thought was, I always fail. A more honest thought could be, I have failed before, but I am still learning. That statement is not empty positivity. It contains truth and possibility. It leaves room for growth. This is the kind of language your subconscious can accept. You are giving it a new direction without demanding that it believe something impossible. Tomorrow, begin a morning conversation with yourself. Before you check your phone, sit quietly for 2 minutes. Take 3 slow breaths. Then say 3 statements. The first should create stability. I am here. The second should create responsibility. I will focus on what I can control. The third should create trust. I can handle today, 1 step at a time. Say each sentence slowly. Then ask yourself one question. What is the most important thing I can do today? Choose one answer, not 10. 1. This practice prevents your mind from starting the day in reaction mode. If the first thing you do every morning is consume messages, news, social media, or other people's opinions, your mind begins receiving outside signals before you have chosen your own. You may wake up calm and become anxious within 5 minutes. You may wake up focused and become distracted before breakfast. You may wake up grateful and begin comparing yourself to strangers. Protect the first few minutes of your attention. Your attention is part of your inner environment. What you repeatedly focus on becomes easier for your mind to return to. This does not mean you should avoid reality. It means you should not allow every outside voice to become an inside voice. There is another important part of reprogramming. You must learn to catch absolute language. Words like always, never, everyone, no one, everything, nothing. These words often turn one event into a permanent identity. You say, I always mess things up. Ask yourself, always? Probably not. You say, nobody understands me. Ask yourself, nobody. Probably not. You say, nothing ever works. Ask yourself, nothing. Again, probably not. Replace extreme statements with precise statements. Instead of, I always fail, say, this did not work the way I wanted. Instead of, nobody respects me, say, I felt disrespected in that situation. Instead of, everything is falling apart, say, several things are difficult right now. Precision calms the mind. It reduces unnecessary emotional pressure. You are teaching yourself to describe reality instead of exaggerating it. That is a powerful form of mental discipline. This week, create a simple thought journal. Carry a small notebook or use a private note on your phone. Every time you notice a strong negative thought, write 4 things. First, write the trigger. Second, write the automatic thought. Third, write the emotion it created. Fourth, write a more balanced response. For example, trigger, someone criticized my work. Automatic thought, I am terrible at this. Emotion, shame. Balanced response, one piece of feedback does not define my ability. I can learn from it. Do not write an essay. Keep it simple. The goal is to notice the pattern. After several days, you may see something surprising. The same thought may appear again and again. Maybe your deepest pattern is not about money. Maybe it is not about relationships. Maybe it is about worth. Maybe every situation eventually leads back to the same sentence. I am not enough. That is valuable information. Once you know the pattern, you can work with it. You can stop trying to fix every separate situation. You can work on the belief beneath them. Consider Daniel. Daniel had a habit of mentally criticizing himself during work. If he made a small mistake, he would say, I am an idiot. If someone corrected him, he would think, they think I am incompetent. If he finished early, he would tell himself, it was probably not good enough. He thought this pressure made him more productive, but it was doing the opposite. He was constantly distracted by self-judgment. One day, he decided to change one thing. He banned personal insults from his inner conversation. He could criticize the action. He could identify the mistake. He could correct the problem, but he could not attack himself. When he made a mistake, he had to say, "I made an error. What needs to be corrected?" That was all. The first week felt strange. He noticed how often he had been insulting himself. But after several weeks, something changed. He became more willing to ask questions. He recovered from mistakes faster. He stopped wasting energy proving to himself that he was failing. His work improved. His confidence improved. And he realized something important. He had been trying to motivate himself with fear. But fear was not creating discipline. It was creating exhaustion. Real discipline can exist without self-hatred. You can demand more from yourself while still treating yourself with respect. You can admit weakness without making weakness your identity. You can recognize a mistake without becoming the mistake. Your inner conversation should not make you soft. It should make you clear. There will be times when you need to challenge yourself. You may need to stop procrastinating. You may need to take responsibility. You may need to admit that you made the wrong choice. You may need to work harder, but you can say, "I need to improve," instead of, "I am worthless." You can say, "I avoided this." Instead of, "I am lazy forever," you can say, "I need a better routine," instead of, "I can never change." Your words create different emotional conditions, and those conditions influence what you do next. Fear can create movement, but it is difficult to build a peaceful life when fear is your permanent source of movement. You want discipline that comes from self-respect. You want action that comes from clarity. You want ambition without constant panic. That is a healthier signal for your subconscious. There is also a deeper spiritual side to this. Your inner conversation is part of the frequency you carry into your day. If your mind is constantly saying, "I am behind, I am unsafe, I am losing, I am not enough," your attention becomes narrow. You become focused on survival. But when your inner language becomes calmer, you create more room. You can notice opportunities. You can listen better. You can recognize useful information. You can respond instead of react. You become more aligned with the person you are trying to become. The universe does not require you to speak perfect affirmations. Life is not a test where one wrong thought destroys your manifestation. You are allowed to have fear. You are allowed to have doubt. You are allowed to feel uncertain. The goal is not thought perfection. The goal is conscious direction. You notice the old conversation. You choose a better sentence. You repeat it. Then you act in a way that supports it. That is how change becomes real. Tonight, before you sleep, listen carefully to the conversation happening inside your mind. Do not try to stop it. Simply observe. Notice the way you speak about your future. Notice the way you speak about your body. Notice the way you speak about money. Notice the way you speak about relationships. Notice the way you speak about yourself. If you hear a sentence that is cruel, absolute, or hopeless, write it down. Then ask, would I speak this way to someone I deeply care about? If the answer is no, change the sentence, not into something fake, into something honest and supportive. I am learning. I can improve. I can handle this moment. I do not need to know everything yet. I can make a better choice tomorrow. I can release what is outside my control. Read your chosen statements slowly. Then sleep. Tomorrow, begin again. Your subconscious does not change because you had one powerful night. It changes because you give it a new pattern, again and again. So your challenge is simple. For the next 7 days, become the observer of your own inner conversation. Catch the harsh sentence, catch the fearful prediction, catch the absolute statement, catch the old belief. Pause before accepting it, then replace it with one honest sentence that gives you strength and direction. Do not wait until you feel completely convinced. Practice first. Your mind will learn from repetition. And every time you choose a better sentence, you are teaching your subconscious that the old voice is no longer the only voice you have. Tonight, listen closely. Your next reality begins with the words you repeatedly allow yourself to believe. Chapter 5. Your frequency shifts through repeated daily practice. The alarm rings, but you do not move immediately. You lie still for a few seconds and feel the weight of another day. Before you even open your eyes fully, your mind starts listing everything that needs attention. The unfinished work, the message you are waiting for, the money you need, the decision you have not made, the future you cannot predict. Within moments, your body feels tense. Nothing has happened yet, but your internal state has already changed. Then you remember something important. Your state is not created only by what happens around you. It is also shaped by what you repeatedly practice within yourself. A single calm moment can help you. A single affirmation can encourage you. A single deep breath can interrupt a stressful thought. But lasting change usually comes from repetition. Your subconscious learns through patterns. Your body learns through patterns. Your attention learns through patterns. Your emotional responses learn through patterns. This is why one peaceful night can feel powerful, yet old reactions may return the next morning. You have spent years teaching your mind certain responses. You cannot expect one evening of calm to erase every old pattern immediately. That does not mean the practice failed. It means repetition matters. Think about how you learned any skill. You did not become comfortable with it after doing it once. You repeated it. You made mistakes. You tried again. Eventually, something that once required effort became more natural. Your inner state can develop in a similar way. If you repeatedly practice panic, your mind becomes quick at finding reasons to panic. If you repeatedly practice checking, your mind becomes quick at demanding another check. If you repeatedly practice self-doubt, doubt becomes familiar. But the same principle can work in your favor. You can practice calm. You can practice patience. You can practice trust. You can practice focused attention. You can practice letting go. And over time, those responses become easier to access. This is what it means to shift your frequency through daily practice. Your frequency is the state you repeatedly return to. It is not a number you need to calculate. It is the emotional pattern you strengthen. When you repeatedly live in fear, your internal signal becomes fear-oriented. When you repeatedly return to calm, your internal signal becomes more stable. When you repeatedly choose trust over compulsive control, your mind begins learning that uncertainty does not always mean danger. This is not about pretending that life has no problems. It is about changing how you meet those problems. A difficult situation can remain difficult while your response becomes calmer. A delayed answer can remain delayed while you stop checking every few minutes. A goal can remain uncertain while you continue taking responsible action. You do not need the outside world to become perfectly peaceful before you become peaceful inside. That is one of the most important lessons you can practice. Your environment will always contain things you cannot control. People will change their minds. Plans will change. Opportunities will appear and disappear. Money will rise and fall. Relationships will go through different seasons. Your body will have good days and difficult days. You cannot create permanent peace by controlling all of these things. You create stronger peace by developing a reliable response within yourself. So begin today with a morning practice that takes less than 10 minutes. Before you look at your phone, sit quietly. Put both feet on the floor. Take 5 slow breaths. Do not force your breathing. Simply make each breath slower than the one before. Then say 3 statements. I am here. I choose what I can control. I will meet today one step at a time. After each statement, pause. Do not rush to the next sentence. Allow the words to settle. Then ask, what deserves my attention today? Choose one important thing. Write it down. This teaches your mind to begin the day from intention instead of reaction. You are telling your subconscious that the day does not have to begin with fear. Tomorrow, add one more practice. Create what you can call a reset point. Choose a specific time. It could be lunch. It could be 3 in the afternoon. It could be the moment you return home. When that time arrives, stop for 60 seconds. Put your phone down. Relax your shoulders. Take 3 slow breaths. Notice what you are feeling. Do not judge it. Ask yourself, what state have I been practicing today? Maybe the answer is tension. Maybe impatience. Maybe comparison. Maybe calm. Maybe focus. Whatever the answer is, simply notice it. Then choose the state you want to practice for the next hour. If you have been anxious, choose steadiness. If you have been distracted, choose focus. If you have been angry, choose patience. You are not demanding that the emotion disappear. You are choosing what you practice next. That distinction gives you control without pretending you control everything. This week, create an evening practice. Before sleeping, spend 5 minutes reviewing the day. Do not ask, did everything go perfectly? Ask 3 different questions. Where did I remain calm? Where did I react from fear? What will I practice differently tomorrow? Keep your answers short. You are not judging yourself. You are collecting information. If you stayed calm during one difficult conversation, notice it. If you resisted checking your phone repeatedly, notice it. If you lost your patience, notice that too. The goal is awareness. Awareness gives you a choice. Without awareness, your old pattern can run automatically. With awareness, you can interrupt it. This is how daily practice slowly changes your internal environment. Consider someone named Alex. Alex had a habit of starting every morning by checking his phone. He would wake up and immediately look for messages. Then he would check social media, then his email. Within 10 minutes, his attention belonged to everyone except himself. Some mornings, he saw something stressful. Other mornings, he saw someone else's success and began comparing himself. He noticed that his mood was often decided before breakfast. So he changed one thing. For 30 days, he kept his phone away from the bed. When he woke up, he sat quietly for 5 minutes. He breathed. He drank water. He wrote down the one thing he needed to accomplish that day. At first it felt uncomfortable. His hand wanted to reach for the phone. His mind created reasons to check it, but he continued. After several weeks, he noticed that his mornings felt different. Nothing magical had happened outside him. His work had not suddenly become easy. His responsibilities were still there. But he no longer began each day by absorbing everyone else's urgency. He began choosing his attention before giving it away. That changed his entire day. This is what repeated practice can do. It changes the starting point, and when the starting point changes, many later decisions change with it. You may think you need a huge transformation. Often, you need a small practice that you actually repeat. 5 minutes every morning can be more powerful than one intense session you never repeat. One calm response each day can be more valuable than hours of thinking about becoming calm. One honest affirmation practiced consistently can be more useful than hundreds of words repeated without attention. Your subconscious does not need a performance. It needs consistency. There is another mistake you should avoid. Do not measure your progress every hour. If you constantly ask, "Is it working?" you turn the practice into another source of anxiety. You say an affirmation, then you check your life. You breathe. Then you check your emotions. You meditate. Then you look for a sign. You practice detachment. Then you ask whether the result has arrived. This keeps your attention attached to the outcome. Instead, measure the practice. Did you do it? Did you return to calm? Did you pause before reacting? Did you keep your promise to yourself? Those are the measurements that matter. The external result may take time. You cannot control its exact timing, but you can control whether you practice. This is where trust becomes practical. Trust is not sitting still and waiting for life to fix everything. Trust means doing your part without demanding that you know exactly how everything will unfold. You prepare, you act, you learn, you adjust. Then you release the need to control every consequence. Your mind becomes quieter when it understands that you are taking responsibility for what belongs to you. You do not need to solve your entire life today. You need to take today's step. Tomorrow will have its own step. This simple approach reduces mental pressure. It also helps your subconscious develop a new expectation. I can handle life one moment at a time. That is a powerful belief. You can strengthen it through small actions. When you feel overwhelmed, choose one task. Finish it. When you feel uncertain, choose one fact. Focus on it. When you feel rejected, separate the event from your identity. When you feel afraid, breathe before reacting. When you want to control an outcome, ask what part actually belongs to you. These moments are your training ground. You do not need special circumstances. Every ordinary day gives you opportunities to practice. The person who repeatedly chooses calm becomes better at accessing calm. The person who repeatedly chooses patience becomes better at accessing patience. The person who repeatedly chooses focused action becomes better at focusing. Your brain adapts to what you repeatedly ask it to do. Your emotional system also becomes familiar with what you repeatedly practice. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to feel inspired every morning. You need to show up. Some mornings will feel peaceful. Some will feel difficult. Some days your affirmations will feel powerful. Other days they may feel like simple words. Practice anyway. The goal is not to create a perfect emotional state. The goal is to create a reliable habit of returning. You drift, you return. You become distracted, you return. You become afraid, you return. You lose patience, you return. You do not need to punish yourself for drifting. You simply return. This repeated return is itself a form of strength. Your frequency changes because your default response begins changing. You stop staying in fear for an entire day after one difficult thought. You stop allowing one disappointing message to control your mood for hours. You stop turning one mistake into a story about your entire future. You begin catching the pattern earlier. That is progress. Sometimes the change is so subtle that you do not notice it at first. Then one day, something happens that would normally have caused panic. You pause. You breathe. You think. You respond. Later, You realize you handled it differently. That moment is evidence. You are becoming someone who can choose a response instead of automatically repeating an old reaction. Tonight, create a simple promise to yourself. For the next 7 days, practice the same 3 moments. 5 minutes in the morning, 1 60-second reset during the day, 5 minutes of reflection before sleep. Do not add 20 different techniques. Keep it simple. In the morning, choose your state. During the day, return to it. At night, review how you responded. That is enough. And when you repeat your affirmations, speak them with calm attention. I trust myself to handle what comes. I do not need to control what is outside me. I allow good things to develop without forcing them. I can act with patience. I can release the need to know everything now. Choose the statements that feel honest, then live them. If you say you trust yourself, make one decision without unnecessary reassurance. If you say you release control, stop checking something you cannot change. If you say you are patient, allow one situation to take its natural time. If you say you are calm, pause before responding when something irritates you. Your actions give your affirmations weight. The words become stronger when your behavior supports them. This is where the shift becomes real. You are no longer simply telling your mind what you want to believe. You are showing it. Every day, through small choices, through repeated practice, through patience, through discipline, through the willingness to begin again, you may still experience fear. You may still have difficult days. You may still wonder whether your desired result is coming. That is normal. Do not make uncertainty the enemy. Use uncertainty as a place to practice trust. When you cannot know, breathe. When you cannot control, release. When you can act, act. When you can learn, learn. When you can rest, rest. And when you make a mistake, return without shame. Your subconscious is watching what you repeatedly do. Your inner conversation is listening. Your body is learning. Your attention is being trained. And slowly, your signal begins to change. Not because you forced reality to obey you, because you changed the person who meets reality. Tonight, before you sleep, choose the 3 practices you will repeat for the next 7 days. Write them down. Do not make them complicated. Then make yourself one promise. I will not measure my progress by how quickly the outside world changes. I will measure it by how consistently I return to the state I choose. Tomorrow morning, begin. Not perfectly, not dramatically. Simply begin. And your challenge is this. For 7 days, do not abandon the practice just because you do not see an immediate result. Continue when you feel inspired. Continue when you feel doubtful. Continue when nothing seems to be changing. Continue when your old patterns return, especially then, because the moment you want to quit is often the moment you discover whether your new pattern is becoming stronger than the old one. Practice calm. Practice trust. Practice focused action. Practice release. Return every day. And let your repeated choices become the new signal your subconscious learns to recognize. Chapter 6. Affirmations. Teach your mind a new reality. The room is dark, and you are lying quietly in bed. Your body is tired, but your mind is still working. A thought appears. I am behind. Another follows. I should have done more. Then another. What if tomorrow goes badly? You notice how quickly one sentence creates another. You have not spoken these words aloud, but you have repeated them so many times that they feel almost automatic. Now consider what would happen if, instead of allowing the same old sentences to run every night, you deliberately gave your mind a different message. Not a fantasy, not a promise that everything will happen exactly as you want. a new direction. This is where affirmations become powerful. An affirmation is a statement you repeat intentionally to strengthen a chosen belief. It is not a spell. It is not a guarantee. It is not a way to force another person to behave differently. And it does not mean you should ignore reality. An affirmation works best when it helps you change the way you think, feel, and act. Your mind is always receiving messages. Some come from other people. Some come from your experiences. Some come from what you watch. Some come from what you repeatedly tell yourself. You may not realize it, but you have been using affirmations your entire life. Every time you say, "I always mess things up," you are reinforcing a belief. Every time you say, "I cannot handle this," you are reinforcing a belief. Every time you say, "People always leave," you are reinforcing a belief. These statements may not feel like affirmations because they are negative, but psychologically, they are repeated messages. They teach your attention what to expect. They teach your emotional system what to prepare for. They teach your subconscious what to recognize quickly. The goal is not to stop every negative thought. That would create another form of pressure. The goal is to become more deliberate about the messages you repeatedly practice. If your mind has been practicing fear for years, you need patience while teaching it something different. Do not expect one sentence to erase years of conditioning. Think in terms of repetition. You are creating a new path. At first, the old path is easier to follow because you have used it so often. The new path becomes stronger through use. This is why the words you choose matter. If you are deeply afraid of failure, saying, "I am the most successful person in the world," may feel so disconnected from your current experience that your mind immediately rejects it. Instead, choose a statement that creates movement. "I am becoming more confident through action." That is believable. "I can learn from mistakes." That is believable. "I can handle uncertainty without creating a disaster in my mind." That is believable. "I am allowed to grow at my own pace." That is believable. These statements give your subconscious something it can work with. You are not trying to trick yourself. You are teaching yourself. There is a difference. Today, create your first personal affirmation. Choose one area where fear has been strongest. Maybe it is relationships, maybe money, maybe work, maybe self-worth, maybe the future. Write the fear exactly as it appears. For example, "I am afraid I will lose everything." Then ask, "What would I rather believe?" Perhaps, "I can protect what matters," while accepting that I cannot control everything. That is a powerful affirmation because it contains both responsibility and surrender. You are not denying reality. You are refusing to live in constant anticipation of disaster. Now make the statement shorter. "I protect what matters and release what I cannot control." Read it slowly, then close your eyes. Take one breath. Repeat it. Take another breath. Repeat it again. Do this 5 times. Do not rush. Your goal is not to say the words as quickly as possible. Your goal is to give your attention to them. Your mind follows attention. Where attention goes repeatedly, mental patterns become stronger. Tomorrow, practice affirmations in the morning before the outside world becomes loud. Sit somewhere quiet. Put your phone aside. Take 3 slow breaths, then repeat 3 statements. 1 for identity, 1 for action, 1 for trust. For identity, "I am learning to trust myself." For action, "I take the next useful step." For trust, "I allow the result to unfold in its own time." Say each one 3 times. Then do something important. Do not immediately search for proof. Get up. begin your day. If you say, "I trust the process," and then spend the next hour checking whether the process is working, you are reinforcing doubt. Your behavior matters. Your affirmation should lead to action, not obsession. Suppose your affirmation is, "I am confident." What does confidence look like today? Maybe you speak clearly during a meeting. Maybe you ask a question instead of pretending you understand. Maybe you stop apologizing for every small thing. Maybe you make a decision without asking everyone else to approve it. The affirmation becomes real through behavior. That is how you teach your mind a new reality. You show it what the new belief looks like in ordinary life. There is another important rule. Do not use affirmations to suppress emotion. If you are sad, saying, "I am completely happy," does not automatically resolve the sadness. If you are afraid, saying, "I have no fear," may create another internal conflict. Instead, use affirmations that allow the emotion while giving you direction. I can feel fear and still move forward. I can feel sadness and still care for myself. I can feel uncertainty and still remain grounded. I can experience disappointment without losing my sense of worth. These statements are stronger because they do not require you to deny what you feel. They teach you that emotion does not have to control your behavior. That is real mental freedom. Consider a man named Michael. Michael had been trying to improve his financial situation. Every time he thought about money, he felt tension. His usual internal statement was, "I never have enough." He repeated it so often that even when he received money, his mind immediately focused on what could go wrong. He decided to change his inner language. He did not start by saying, "I am incredibly wealthy." Instead, he chose, "I am learning to manage money with clarity and confidence." Every morning, he repeated it. Then he supported it with action. He tracked his spending. He reduced unnecessary purchases. He learned about budgeting. He stopped avoiding his bank statements. The affirmation did not magically deposit money into his account. It changed his relationship with the subject. He moved from fear to responsibility. He began paying attention. He made better decisions. After several months, his financial situation improved, but the deepest change was internal. Money no longer automatically meant danger. He had taught his mind a different association. That is what affirmations can do when they are connected to action. They can change the emotional meaning of a subject. You can use the same principle with relationships. If your old belief is, "I am always going to be abandoned," a useful affirmation might be, "I can love deeply without abandoning myself." That changes your focus. You are no longer asking, "How do I make sure this person never leaves?" You are asking, "How do I remain honest, grounded, and self-respecting while I love?" That is a completely different question. For work, you might use, "I can improve without demanding perfection." For uncertainty, "I do not need to know the whole future to take the next step." For self-worth, "My value is not decided by one person's opinion." For patience, good things do not need to happen immediately to be meaningful. For detachment, "I can desire something without making my peace dependent on it." Choose words that speak to the belief beneath your fear. That is more important than choosing words that simply sound beautiful. This week, create an affirmation schedule. Morning, daytime, night. In the morning, repeat your main affirmation 3 times. During the day, use it when the old thought appears. At night, repeat it again before sleep, but add one small action each day that supports the affirmation. If your affirmation is about confidence, take a confident action. If it is about patience, practice waiting. If it is about self-worth, Stop seeking unnecessary approval. If it is about abundance, manage what you already have responsibly. If it is about trust, stop checking for constant signs. This creates consistency between your words and your life. Your subconscious notices that consistency. You are telling it, "This is not just something I say. This is how I am beginning to live." That message is much stronger. There is also a reason nighttime can feel especially important. When you are tired and the outside world becomes quiet, you often become more aware of your internal conversation. This can be a useful moment for gentle repetition. Do not turn bedtime into a test. You do not need to repeat an affirmation hundreds of times. Choose one or two. Speak slowly. Allow your body to relax. Then stop. You are not forcing an outcome. You are creating a calmer, final direction for your attention before sleep. If a fearful thought appears afterward, do not panic. Simply return to the chosen statement once. Then let it go. For example, I am safe enough to rest. I do not need to solve tomorrow tonight. I can handle tomorrow when it arrives. Then allow yourself to sleep. Your mind does not need more analysis at that moment. It needs rest. There is a subtle mistake many people make with manifestation. They become obsessed with saying the perfect words. They change affirmations every few days. They search for stronger phrases. They look for secret formulas. They worry that they are doing it incorrectly. This creates more anxiety. You do not need a perfect affirmation. You need a useful one that you can repeat consistently. Choose one. Stay with it. Give it time. Let it become familiar. Your subconscious responds to repetition more than novelty. If you constantly change the message, you give your attention many directions. If you repeat one grounded belief, you create consistency. Your inner signal becomes clearer. This does not mean one sentence controls the universe. It means your relationship with yourself begins to change. And when that relationship changes, your choices change. Your choices influence your life. Your attention changes. Your behavior changes. Your relationships may change. Your standards may change. Your willingness to act may change. Your ability to recover may change. That is how a new internal reality begins becoming visible in the external world. Not all at once. Through small decisions. Through repeated responses. Through a different way of interpreting what happens. There will be days when the affirmation feels powerful. There will be days when it feels like nothing. Continue anyway. You are not measuring success by emotion. You are measuring consistency. If the old thought returns, repeat the new one. If you make a mistake, repeat the new one. If someone disappoints you, repeat the new one. If you receive good news, repeat the new one. The goal is to build stability that does not depend entirely on circumstances. You want your inner state to become less reactive. That is a deeper form of manifestation. You become the kind of person who can hold a desire without becoming desperate. You can want success without becoming obsessed. You can want love without begging for reassurance. You can want money without making money your identity. You can want a specific result while accepting that another path may eventually be better for you. This is where affirmation meets surrender. You state what you choose. You act on what belongs to you. Then you allow the universe to handle what is outside your control. That does not weaken your intention. It makes your intention calmer. Your signal becomes less desperate. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy is no longer spent trying to force certainty. Tonight, choose one affirmation. Only one. Write it somewhere you will see it. Then say it slowly 5 times. After each repetition, take one breath. Do not ask when the result will arrive. Do not ask whether the universe heard you. Do not check your circumstances for immediate proof. Simply practice. Tomorrow morning, repeat it again. During the day, use it when the old belief appears. At night, repeat it one final time. Do this for 7 days. Then look back at your behavior. Ask yourself, did I react differently? Did I make different choices? Did I become calmer? Did I stop feeding one old fear? Did I begin trusting myself more? Those changes matter. They are signs that the message is becoming part of you. Your challenge is to choose your affirmation tonight and refuse to change it for 7 days. Do not search for a better sentence. Do not chase a stronger phrase. Do not keep testing whether it works. Repeat it. Feel it. Support it with action. Then release it. Give your subconscious a consistent message. Give your behavior a consistent direction. Give the universe room to unfold the parts you cannot control. And when the old voice returns, do not fight it. Simply answer with the belief you have chosen. The old voice says, something will go wrong. You answer, I can handle what comes. The old voice says, I am not enough. You answer, I am growing through what I face. The old voice says, I need to know the result now. You answer, I can take the next step without knowing everything. Repeat it until the new response becomes easier to access. Not because you are forcing reality, because you are changing the person who meets reality. Tonight, choose the sentence. Tomorrow, begin living it. Chapter 7. You stop chasing results and start trusting. The answer still has not arrived. You have checked your phone 3 times in the last 10 minutes. You refresh the page. Nothing. You tell yourself to relax, but your mind asks another question. What if it does not happen? You check again. You look for a sign. You replay an earlier conversation. You wonder whether you should send another message. Your body is tired, but your mind keeps reaching for certainty. You want the result so badly that waiting has become painful. Then, for a moment, you stop. You put the phone down. You breathe, and you notice something you had forgotten. Wanting something is not the problem. Believing you cannot be peaceful until you get it is the problem. There is a difference between desire and desperation. Desire says, I would love for this to happen. Desperation says, I cannot be okay unless this happens. Desire allows movement. Desperation creates pressure. Desire can coexist with peace. Desperation makes peace dependent on an outcome. This is why chasing results can become exhausting. You may start with a healthy intention. You want a better relationship. You want financial improvement. You want a new opportunity. You want healing from an old experience. You want your life to change. There is nothing wrong with wanting those things. The problem begins when your attention becomes completely attached to the evidence that they are happening. You start checking. You start calculating. You start looking for signs. You start asking other people what they think. You start changing your behavior because you are afraid of losing the desired result. You stop living the life in front of you because your attention is trapped in the future. This is where trust becomes important. Trust does not mean you know exactly what will happen. Trust means you can move forward without needing complete certainty. You do your part. Then you allow life to respond. You prepare. Then you release. You act. Then you stop obsessing. You express your desire. Then you stop demanding that reality prove itself immediately. This is not passivity. It is emotional discipline. You are still responsible for your choices. You still need to work. You still need to communicate. You still need to protect your finances. you still need to make healthy decisions. You still need to walk away from situations that are harmful. Trust does not replace action. It changes the emotional state from which you act. When you trust yourself, you do not need to chase every answer. When you trust your preparation, you do not need to rehearse every possible disaster. When you trust that you can adapt, uncertainty becomes less threatening. When you trust that one outcome does not define your worth, disappointment becomes survivable. That is the kind of trust you are building. Today, begin with one simple practice. Choose one result you have been obsessively checking. It could be a message, an application, a financial goal, a relationship, a decision, something you are waiting for. Write down exactly what you want. Then write, what is actually within my control? Be specific. If you are waiting for a job offer, your control may include preparing for the interview, improving your skills, following up professionally, and continuing to apply elsewhere. What is not within your control? The employer's final decision, their timing, their internal priorities, their other candidates. Your job is to separate these two categories, then take one action from the first category. After that, stop. Do not take another action simply because anxiety tells you that more action must create a better result. Sometimes the most disciplined action is to wait. That can be difficult. Waiting exposes your relationship with uncertainty. It reveals whether you can act without immediately demanding reassurance. Tomorrow, practice a second exercise. Choose one period of the day when you will not check for your desired result. Make it specific. Maybe from 9 in the morning until noon. Maybe from lunch until dinner. During that time, you do not check the message. You do not refresh the website. You do not ask for updates. You do not search for signs. You return your attention to your actual life. Work, exercise, read, clean your room, cook, talk to someone, complete something useful. At first, you may feel an urge to check. Notice it. Take one breath. Say, checking will not create certainty. Then continue. You are teaching your nervous system that you can experience the urge without obeying it. That is powerful. This week, create a larger practice. Choose one desired outcome and consciously release the need to monitor it constantly. Give yourself a rule. I will take responsible action once, then allow time to do its work. If a follow-up is genuinely necessary, schedule it. Do not improvise from anxiety. For example, if you send an important email, decide in advance when you will follow up. Maybe you wait 3 business days. Until then, you do not need to repeatedly wonder whether the person saw it. The decision has already been made. Your action has already been taken. Now your task is to live. This is what detachment looks like in ordinary life. It is not indifference. It is not pretending you do not care. It is caring without clinging. You can love someone without constantly checking whether they still love you. You can want success without measuring your worth against every result. You can want money without living in fear of every expense. You can want recognition without needing every person to approve of you. You can want a particular future without refusing to accept the present. That last point is especially important. You cannot fully experience today while mentally living in a future you are trying to force. Your body is here. Your responsibilities are here. Your relationships are here. Your opportunities are here. Your life is happening now. The desired result may come later, but you cannot build your future by abandoning the present. There is a subtle form of chasing that many people do not recognize. It is not physical. It happens in the mind. You constantly rehearse conversations. You imagine how someone will react. You visualize the result. You calculate the timing. You search for hidden meanings. You interpret every coincidence. You replay what happened yesterday. You predict what might happen tomorrow. Your body may be sitting quietly, but internally you are running after the outcome. That is still chasing. The solution is not to stop caring. The solution is to return your attention to what is real. Ask, what is happening right now? Not what might happen. Not what happened 3 days ago. What is happening now? Maybe you are sitting at your desk. Maybe you are eating. Maybe you are working. Maybe you are talking to someone. Maybe you are resting. Start there. Present attention weakens unnecessary future fear. This does not mean you should never plan. Planning is useful. Obsessing is different. Planning says, here is what I will do. Obsessing says, what if something goes wrong? Planning ends with an action. Obsessing repeats without producing anything useful. Learn to recognize the difference. When you have completed the useful action, stop. Trust the process. Trust your preparation. Trust your ability to adapt. Trust that you do not need to know everything today. Consider someone named Elena. Elena had applied for a position she deeply wanted. After the interview, she began checking her email constantly. She checked before breakfast. She checked during work. She checked before bed. She searched online for signs about whether the company had made a decision. Every hour of uncertainty felt like evidence that she was going to be rejected. One evening, she realized she had spent the entire day thinking about an email she could not control. She wrote down 2 lists. The first said, "My responsibility." She wrote, "Prepare well, follow up once, keep improving, continue applying." The second said, "Not my responsibility." She wrote, "Their decision, their timing, their internal process. Who else applied?" She looked at the second list and realized how much energy she had been spending on things that did not belong to her. The next morning, she changed her behavior. She checked her email only twice a day. She continued applying for other positions. She spent an hour improving her skills. She stopped talking about the result constantly. A week later, she received the offer. But even if she had not received it, something important had already happened. She had stopped making one outcome responsible for her peace. That is trust. You do not trust because you know the result will be exactly what you want. You trust because you know you can meet whatever comes. That is much stronger. Sometimes the universe gives you what you hoped for. Sometimes it gives you something different. Sometimes the delay protects you from a decision you were not ready to understand. Sometimes a closed door forces you to notice another possibility. You do not have to explain every event. You do not have to label every disappointment as secretly perfect. Some things simply hurt. Some endings are painful. Some opportunities do not work out. You are allowed to acknowledge that. Spiritual maturity does not require you to pretend that every loss feels good. It asks you to remain open to what comes next. That is different. You can say, "I did not want this outcome," and also, "I will not destroy myself because of it." You can say, "I hoped this relationship would continue," and also, "I will respect what is happening." You can say, "I wanted this opportunity," and also, "I will keep moving." This is how surrender becomes strength. You stop fighting reality after reality has already spoken. You learn from what happened, you adjust, then you continue. There is another reason chasing results creates suffering. When you become obsessed with the outcome, you start measuring every moment against it. If the result has not arrived, the present feels wrong. If someone has not responded, the day feels wrong. If money has not arrived, you feel behind. If the relationship has not changed, you feel stuck. You are constantly telling your nervous system, "Not yet" means something is wrong, but "not yet" does not automatically mean never. A seed does not need to be dug up every morning to check whether it is growing. Your work is to create the right conditions, then allow time. That principle applies to many areas of life. You study, you practice, you apply, you communicate, you save, you build, you rest, you repeat. Results often develop through processes you cannot see every moment. Your job is not to demand visible proof every hour. Your job is to remain consistent. This is why patience is not weakness. Patience is the ability to continue without constant reassurance, and patience is a form of trust. Tonight, choose one outcome you have been chasing. Write its name on a piece of paper. Under it, write, "What have I already done?" List everything. Then write, "What is the next useful action?" Choose one. Then write, "What am I trying to control that does not belong to me?" Be honest. Maybe you are trying to control someone's feelings, maybe their timing, maybe the exact result, maybe the future. Circle that part. Then say, "I release what is not mine to control." Take a slow breath. Say it again, then stop. Do not spend another hour thinking about the result. Return to your life. This is the practice. You choose, you act, you release, you continue, you trust. Tomorrow, when the urge to check returns, notice it. Do not criticize yourself. Simply ask, "Will checking change anything right now?" If the answer is no, wait. Take 3 breaths. Do something else for 10 minutes. Then decide again. You are building the ability to tolerate uncertainty. That ability will serve you far beyond one desired result. It will help you in relationships, in business, in money, in personal growth. In every situation where you cannot control another person's decision, you will discover that peace does not require complete information. You can make decisions with incomplete information. You can move forward without guarantees. You can sleep without knowing tomorrow's answer. You can be hopeful without becoming desperate. This is the state you are practicing. A calmer frequency, a more grounded signal, a deeper trust in yourself. Not blind optimism, not denial, not magical thinking. Trust. You do your part. You stop doing what is not yours. You let time move. You allow other people to be responsible for their choices. You allow the universe to unfold what you cannot arrange. And you remain present. Tonight, before you sleep, put your phone away. Take 3 slow breaths. Think of the result you have been chasing. Say, "I want this, but I do not need to destroy my peace to receive it." Then say, "I will do what belongs to me." And finally, "I release the timing and the outcome." Let those words become more than an affirmation. Let them become a decision. Your challenge begins tomorrow. For the next 7 days, choose one result you deeply care about and stop monitoring it compulsively. Take the necessary action. Set a reasonable time for checking, then return to your life. When anxiety tells you to chase, pause. When fear tells you to check, breathe. When doubt tells you that nothing is happening, continue doing what is useful. And when the outcome finally arrives, whether it is exactly what you wanted or something different, meet it with the same principle. I will handle what comes. That is trust. You are not giving up on what you desire. You are giving up on the belief that you must chase it every moment to make it happen. You can desire, you can act, you can believe, and you can let go. Tonight, put down the phone. Take one breath and allow life to move without your constant supervision. Chapter 8. Detachment releases the fear of losing everything. The message arrives later than you expected. You see the name on your screen, and your heart immediately changes. Before you even open it, your mind starts preparing for bad news. You wonder what the person will say. You wonder if something has changed. You wonder if the thing you care about is slipping away. You open the message. It is short. You read it again, then again. You search for hidden meaning in every word. Your body becomes tense because your mind has already connected uncertainty with loss. You want to hold on tighter. You want reassurance. You want certainty. But beneath all of that is one simple fear. What if I lose everything I care about? That fear can quietly control your life. You may not notice it at first. You may call it love. You may call it ambition. You may call it responsibility. You may call it being careful. Sometimes it is those things. But sometimes it is attachment. Attachment says, I need this to stay exactly as it is. Attachment says, if this changes, I will not be okay. Attachment says, I must know what happens next. Attachment says, I have to keep checking. Attachment says, I need this person to choose me. Attachment says, I cannot allow this opportunity to disappear. The more tightly you hold an outcome, the more frightening uncertainty becomes. This is why detachment matters. Detachment does not mean that you stop caring. It does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean giving up on your dreams. It does not mean walking away from everything you love. Detachment means you stop making your peace dependent on controlling the outcome. You can care deeply and still remain grounded. You can love someone and allow them to have their own choices. You can work toward a goal and accept that the exact result may take a different form. You can want financial security and still understand that no amount of money can remove every uncertainty from life. You can hope for something and still say, if this does not happen, I will continue. That sentence contains enormous strength. Because the fear of losing everything becomes smaller when you know you can survive change. Many people are not actually terrified of losing the thing itself. They are terrified of what they believe the loss would mean. If the relationship ends, they think, I will be alone forever. If the job disappears, they think, my life is ruined. If the investment fails, they think, I will never recover. If someone rejects them, they think, I am not worthy. The event becomes connected to an identity. That is why detachment starts with separating the event from the meaning you give it. A loss can hurt. A disappointment can matter. But one event does not automatically define your entire future. You need to learn this distinction. Today, choose one thing you are afraid of losing. Write it down. Then write, what am I afraid this loss would mean? Do not stop at the first answer. If you write, I am afraid of losing this relationship, ask again, what would that mean? Maybe you write, I would be alone. Ask again, what would being alone mean? Maybe, no one wants me. Now you have found a deeper belief. The fear is not only about the relationship, it is about worth. That is where your work begins. You cannot create peace by trying to guarantee that another person will never leave. You create peace by building a relationship with yourself that does not collapse when someone else makes a different choice. That is detachment. You remain loving. You remain open. But you do not abandon yourself to keep someone. Tomorrow, practice a second exercise. Choose one thing you normally check or control repeatedly. Maybe someone's messages, maybe your bank balance, maybe social media, maybe an application, maybe a specific outcome. Choose one. For one day, Create a boundary around your checking. If you normally check 10 times, reduce it to 3. If you check every few minutes, create specific times. The goal is not to punish yourself. The goal is to prove that you can experience the urge without obeying it. When the urge appears, say, "I can care without checking," then breathe. Give yourself 10 minutes. Do something physical. Walk, drink water, clean something, stretch, return to your work. The urge may return. That is fine. You are practicing freedom from compulsion. This week, take detachment deeper. Choose one outcome you care about and make a list of everything that is actually within your control. Then make another list of everything outside your control. For example, if the outcome involves a relationship, your control may include your honesty, your boundaries, your communication, and your behavior. You do not control another person's feelings. You do not control their decisions. You do not control their timing. If the outcome involves work, you control preparation, effort, learning, communication, and consistency. You do not control the final decision of another person. This separation is powerful. It gives your energy a direction. Instead of spending your attention on what cannot be controlled, you place it where it can create movement. This is one of the clearest forms of surrender. Surrender does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what belongs to you and releasing what does not. There is a difference between holding something with care and holding it with fear. When you hold with care, your hands remain relaxed. When you hold with fear, every change feels like a threat. You begin monitoring, you begin questioning, you begin testing, you begin seeking reassurance, and eventually, the thing you wanted to enjoy becomes the source of your suffering. This happens in relationships often. You meet someone you care about. At first, there is excitement. Then the fear begins. What if they leave? What if they find someone better? What if they lose interest? What if I say the wrong thing? The relationship becomes less about connection and more about preventing loss. You may start changing yourself. You may stop expressing your real needs. You may accept behavior you would normally reject. You may constantly ask for reassurance. You may monitor their activity. You may interpret small changes as signs of abandonment. The fear of losing the relationship can slowly make you lose yourself. Detachment interrupts this pattern. You say, "I want this relationship, but I will not abandon myself to keep it." That is a powerful boundary. You can love someone and still maintain your identity. You can care about their feelings and still respect your own. You can communicate without begging. You can listen without losing your center. You can accept that another person has free will. That is mature love. The same principle applies to success. If you become terrified of losing your success, success itself becomes a source of anxiety. You start working constantly. You stop resting. You become afraid of mistakes. You compare yourself with everyone. You feel that one bad day could destroy everything. But no achievement can permanently remove uncertainty. The answer is not to become careless. The answer is to trust your ability to adapt. You can say, "I value what I have built, and I know I can rebuild if circumstances change." That belief creates stability. You stop treating every challenge like the end. You begin seeing setbacks as information. You begin asking, "What can I learn? What can I change? What is the next step?" Instead of, "How do I make sure this never happens?" That is the difference between control and resilience. Consider someone named Rachel. Rachel had finally reached a financial position she had wanted for years, but instead of feeling peaceful, she became terrified of losing it. She checked her accounts constantly. She avoided reasonable spending. Every unexpected expense felt like a disaster. She had achieved more security, but internally she still felt unsafe. One day, she wrote down the belief beneath her fear. If I lose money, I will lose my entire future. She challenged it. She realized that she had survived financial difficulties before. She had learned new skills before. She had earned money before. She had recovered from mistakes before. She changed the belief to, I will protect what I have, and I trust myself to respond if circumstances change. That belief did not make her careless. It made her calmer. She created a budget. She built savings. She continued learning. But she stopped checking her accounts every hour. She started enjoying ordinary parts of life again. The money had not changed dramatically overnight. Her relationship with uncertainty had changed. That is the deeper result of detachment. You become less afraid of change because you become more confident in your ability to meet change. This is why detachment is connected to self-trust. If you believe you cannot survive without one specific person, result, amount of money, or opportunity, you will cling tightly. If you believe you can adapt, you can hold your desires more peacefully. You still care. But you are no longer desperate. You still act. But you are no longer frantic. You still hope. But you are no longer begging reality to give you certainty. Your frequency changes. Your signal becomes calmer. Your decisions become cleaner. And because your attention is not constantly consumed by fear, you can notice more. You notice what is actually happening. You notice when a relationship is healthy. You notice when it is not. You notice a real opportunity. You notice when you are forcing something. You notice when you need to act. You notice when you need to wait. Detachment creates space for discernment. Without detachment, fear can make every situation look like a threat. With detachment, you can observe. You can ask, is this actually right for me? Not, how do I make this stay? That question can change your life. You may discover that you have been trying to hold on to something simply because you are afraid of what comes after it. Maybe the relationship is no longer healthy. Maybe the opportunity is no longer aligned. Maybe an old identity is no longer useful. Maybe you are holding on to a plan because changing direction feels like failure. Detachment gives you permission to see clearly. You do not have to force yourself to keep something simply because you once wanted it. Sometimes the universe changes the path. You do not need to understand every reason immediately. You can remain open. You can say, I will continue to move toward what is good for me, even if the route changes. That is trust without passivity. Tonight, practice a release ritual. Choose one thing you are afraid of losing. Sit somewhere quiet. Close your eyes. Take 5 slow breaths. Say, I care about this. Pause. Then, I accept that I cannot control everything about it. Pause again. Then, I will do what belongs to me. And finally, I release the need to control the outcome. Notice what happens in your body. Maybe you feel resistance. Maybe your mind immediately says, but what if? Do not argue. Simply breathe. The goal is not to make fear disappear. The goal is to stop feeding it. Tomorrow, whenever you notice yourself trying to control the same outcome, remember the practice. Ask, am I taking responsible action, or am I trying to control uncertainty? If you are taking action, continue. If you are trying to control uncertainty, pause. That one question can prevent hours of unnecessary mental suffering. There will be moments when you want to hold tighter. Those are the moments to soften, not because you care less, because you trust yourself more. You can care without clinging. You can love without losing yourself. You can work without obsessing. You can desire without becoming desperate. You can receive without fearing the moment of loss. And if something eventually changes, you can grieve without believing that your entire life has ended. That is the freedom detachment offers. It does not promise that you will never lose anything. Nothing can promise that. It promises something more realistic. You can learn to stop living every day as if loss is already happening. You can stop rehearsing pain before there is pain. You can stop destroying today's peace because tomorrow is uncertain. You can stop making one outcome responsible for your entire identity. You can choose to live now. Your challenge begins tonight. Choose one thing you are afraid of losing. Write down what you fear the loss would mean about you. Then write a stronger belief. Even if this changes, I remain myself. Even if this ends, I can continue. Even if this result is different, I can adapt. Choose the statement that feels most honest. Repeat it before sleep. Tomorrow, practice one act of detachment. Do not check. Do not chase. Do not ask for unnecessary reassurance. Do not try to control someone else's response. Instead, take one action that strengthens your own life. Work on your goal. Exercise. Learn something. Clean your space. Spend time with someone who matters. Rest. Do something that reminds you that your life is larger than the one thing you are afraid to lose. Then do it again the next day. For 7 days, practice holding your desire with open hands. Care about it. Work for it. Appreciate it. But do not worship it. Do not make it the condition for your peace. Because the moment you realize that you can survive change, the fear of change begins to lose its power. And when fear loses its power, you become more present. You become more honest. You become more aligned. You stop chasing what you are afraid to lose and start living with what you already have. Tonight, breathe slowly. Look at what you have been holding too tightly. Then ask yourself one final question. What would I do differently if I trusted that I could be okay even if life changed? Do not answer with a perfect sentence. Find one action. Then take it tomorrow. That is your challenge. Care deeply, act wisely, release completely, and trust yourself enough to know that your life is bigger than any single result. Chapter 9. The universe responds when you become aligned. The morning begins quietly. You wake up and reach for your phone, but this time you pause. You notice the room around you, the light coming through the window, the sound outside, the feeling of your own breathing. Nothing dramatic has happened. No message has arrived. No sudden opportunity has appeared. Yet something feels different. You are not immediately asking what the day will give you. You are asking what you can bring into the day. You feel less pressure to force an answer. You feel more willing to take the next right step. This is where alignment begins, not with a perfect life, but with a clearer relationship between what you think, what you believe, what you say, and what you do. Alignment is often misunderstood. Some people think alignment means feeling positive all the time. Others think it means waiting for signs from the universe. Some believe that if they think correctly, everything they want must appear immediately. That is not the kind of alignment you need. Real alignment is quieter. It means your inner values and your outer actions are moving in the same direction. You say you want peace, but you stop feeding unnecessary conflict. You say you want confidence, but you begin keeping promises to yourself. You say you want abundance, but you become responsible with what you already have. You say you want healthy love, but you stop accepting behavior that constantly destroys your self-respect. You say you trust the universe, but you also take responsibility for your choices. Alignment is not only what you think, it is how you live. Your thoughts matter. Your beliefs matter. Your emotions matter. But your actions give those inner states a direction. You can repeat an affirmation about confidence all morning. If you spend the rest of the day asking everyone else to make your decisions for you, the deeper pattern remains uncertainty. You can say you trust the process. If you spend every hour checking whether the result has arrived, your behavior is still communicating fear. You can say you are detached. If you keep trying to control another person's choices, your actions are communicating attachment. Alignment asks you to bring these parts together: your words, your attention, your decisions, your behavior, your values. When they begin pointing in the same direction, your internal conflict becomes smaller. And when internal conflict becomes smaller, you often become clearer about what you actually want. This matters because many people say they want one thing while repeatedly practicing something else. They say they want peace, but constantly consume stressful content. They say they want financial stability, but avoid looking at their spending. They say they want love, but keep choosing people who cannot offer emotional safety. They say they want success, but protect themselves from every possibility of failure. The subconscious notices this contradiction. You cannot simply speak a new reality into existence while repeatedly acting from the old one. Your actions teach your mind what you truly believe. That is why alignment is practical. Today, take a piece of paper and write one desire that matters to you. Keep it simple. Maybe you want financial freedom. Maybe you want a healthy relationship. Maybe you want a successful career. Maybe you want greater peace. Underneath the desire, write, what kind of person would naturally support this outcome? If you want financial stability, the answer may include someone who tracks spending, saves consistently, learns useful skills, and avoids impulsive decisions. If you want healthy relationships, the answer may include someone who communicates honestly, respects boundaries, listens, and does not chase people who repeatedly reject them. If you want success, the answer may include someone who works consistently, learns from mistakes, accepts feedback, and continues when motivation disappears. Now choose one behavior from your answer. Do it today, not tomorrow. Today. That is your first alignment practice. You are connecting the identity you desire with an action you can actually take. Tomorrow, practice a second form of alignment. Before making one important decision, ask, does this move me toward the person I want to become? Do not ask only whether it feels comfortable. Growth is not always comfortable. Do not ask only whether it gives you immediate pleasure. Some good decisions require patience. Ask whether it matches your deeper values. Suppose you want peace, but you are about to send an angry message. Pause. Does that action support the person you want to become? Suppose you want confidence, but you are about to avoid something simply because you are afraid of judgment. Pause. Does avoidance support the person you want to become? Suppose you want abundance, but you are about to spend money simply to impress someone. Pause. Does that action support the person you want to become? This question creates a moment between impulse and action. That moment is powerful. It gives your conscious mind a chance to lead instead of allowing old programming to decide automatically. This week, create a third practice. Choose one area where your words and actions are currently different. Do not choose 5. Choose 1. Maybe you say you want better health, but never make time for movement. Maybe you say you want to write, but spend every evening scrolling. Maybe you say you want to save money, but never track your spending. Maybe you say you want a calmer mind, but constantly expose yourself to information that keeps you anxious. Find the contradiction. Then remove one small source of it. You do not need a dramatic life transformation. If you want focus, put your phone in another room for 30 minutes. If you want better finances, track every expense for 7 days. If you want stronger relationships, have one honest conversation. If you want confidence, complete one task you have been avoiding. Small aligned actions create evidence, and evidence changes belief. This is important because your subconscious often trusts what you repeatedly do more than what you repeatedly say. If you keep telling yourself, "I am disciplined," but never follow through, the statement remains weak. If you tell yourself, "I keep my promises to myself," and then actually keep one small promise every day, your mind receives a different message. You begin developing self-trust. That self-trust changes your internal signal. You no longer need to convince yourself as much. You have evidence. Consider someone named Daniel. Daniel wanted to become a successful writer. He watched motivational videos. He listened to affirmations. He visualized publishing a successful book. But he rarely wrote. Every week, he promised himself he would start Monday. Monday became Tuesday. Tuesday became next week. He thought his problem was motivation. Eventually, he realized the deeper problem. His identity and behavior were disconnected. He wanted to see himself as a writer, but he was not practicing the habits of one. So he created a small rule. Every morning, before checking social media, he would write for 20 minutes. That was it. Some mornings he wrote badly. Some mornings he wrote only a few paragraphs. Some mornings he did not feel inspired, but he kept the promise. After several weeks, something changed. He no longer needed to imagine himself as a writer. He had evidence. He was writing. His confidence increased. His work improved. His goals became clearer. The universe had not suddenly dropped a finished career into his hands. His actions had created movement. And because he was moving, new opportunities became easier to notice and respond to. That is one way alignment can appear in ordinary life. When you become clear about what you value, you begin making different choices. Those choices change your environment. Your environment creates new possibilities. You notice people you would not have noticed before. You recognize information that fits your goals. You become willing to take opportunities that your old fearful self would have avoided. What feels like a sudden external shift may have been preceded by months of internal and behavioral preparation. This is why the idea of the universe responding can be understood in a grounded way. You change your signal. Your attention changes. Your behavior changes. Your decisions change. Your relationships with people change. And your experience of life begins changing with them. There may also be moments that feel strangely timed. You think about learning something, and someone mentions a course. You decide to change careers, and an unexpected conversation introduces you to someone in that field. You stop chasing one opportunity, and another possibility appears. These moments can feel like signs. You may choose to see them that way, but do not become obsessed with interpreting every coincidence. A sign should not replace judgment. If something meaningful appears, observe it. Ask questions. Check the facts. Take appropriate action. Stay grounded. Alignment does not require you to become superstitious. It asks you to become attentive. There is a difference. You do not need to chase signs. You need to become present enough to notice opportunities when they appear. The universe may not speak to you through dramatic events. Sometimes the signal is simple. A repeated feeling that something is no longer right, a new idea that keeps returning, a conversation that changes your perspective, a door that closes and forces you to reconsider, a person who challenges you to grow. a quiet sense that your current habits no longer match the life you want. Pay attention, but remain wise. Not every feeling is guidance. Fear can feel like intuition. Desire can feel like destiny. Attachment can feel like love. That is why alignment requires both intuition and discernment. Ask yourself, is this coming from fear or clarity? Am I moving toward something or running away from something? Does this choice support my values? Would I still choose this if nobody knew about it? These questions help separate your deeper intention from temporary emotion. Your inner voice becomes easier to recognize when your mind is less crowded. That is another reason daily quiet matters. You do not need hours of meditation. 5 quiet minutes can be enough to notice what your mind has been hiding under constant noise. Sit, breathe. Do not search for an answer. Let thoughts appear. Then ask, what am I actually trying to create? Not what will impress people, not what looks successful, not what someone else expects. What do you actually want? You may discover that your original goal has changed. That is okay. Alignment sometimes means admitting that the goal you have been chasing no longer belongs to you. You may have wanted money because you thought money would prove your worth. You may have wanted a relationship because you feared being alone. You may have wanted success because you wanted approval. You may have wanted a particular lifestyle because you wanted other people to admire you. When you become more honest, your desires may become simpler. You may want peace, meaningful work, healthy relationships, financial stability, freedom, time, growth. That clarity can be more powerful than 100 complicated goals. When you know what matters, your choices become easier. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop chasing every opportunity. You stop comparing your timeline with strangers. You stop changing direction every time someone else succeeds. You begin walking your own path. That is alignment. You are no longer pulled in 10 directions. Your energy becomes focused. Your frequency becomes more stable. Your signal becomes clearer. This also changes the way you respond to delays. When you are aligned, a delay does not automatically mean rejection. You can ask, what can I do while I wait? Maybe you improve your skills. Maybe you strengthen your finances. Maybe you rest. Maybe you prepare. Maybe you explore another option. You continue living. You do not put your life on hold. This is important. Alignment is not waiting for the universe to give you permission to live. Your life is already happening. You participate in it. You make choices. You learn. You love. You create. You rest. You begin again. And when an opportunity appears, you are ready to meet it. There is also a deeper form of alignment that comes through integrity. Integrity means doing what you say you will do. If you tell yourself you will wake up early, try. If you say you will stop chasing someone who repeatedly rejects you, keep the boundary. If you say you will save money, save something. If you say you will work on your goal, work on it. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you repeatedly break your own promises, you weaken it. This does not mean you must become perfect. You will fail. You will procrastinate. You will change your mind. You will have difficult days. Alignment is not perfection. It is correction. You notice when you drift. Then you return. That is enough. Tonight, take 5 minutes before sleep. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I say I wanted? What did I actually do? What is one action that would bring those two closer together tomorrow? Do not judge yourself. Be honest. Maybe you said you wanted peace, but spent hours arguing online. Maybe you said you wanted progress, but avoided your most important task. Maybe you said you wanted trust, but spent the day checking for reassurance. Notice it. Then choose one correction. Tomorrow, make that correction. That is how alignment becomes a daily practice instead of a spiritual idea. Your challenge is to choose one desire that matters deeply to you and identify one behavior that matches it. For the next 7 days, repeat that behavior. Do it even when you do not feel inspired. Do it even when nobody notices. Do it even when the result is not immediate. Do it because you are becoming the person whose actions match their intentions. And when something unexpected happens, do not immediately ask, "Is this a sign?" Ask, "What does this situation require from me?" Stay open, stay grounded, stay attentive. If the universe is bringing something toward you, you do not need to chase it in panic. If something is leaving, you do not need to destroy yourself trying to hold it. If a new door appears, you can walk toward it with awareness. If a door closes, you can pause and look for what the moment is teaching you. Your responsibility is alignment. Your responsibility is clarity. Your responsibility is action. The timing and the full outcome may remain outside your control. Allow that. There is peace in knowing what belongs to you. There is strength in releasing what does not. Tonight, choose one promise. Tomorrow, keep it. Then keep it again the next day. Let your thoughts become clearer. Let your words become more honest. Let your actions become more consistent. Let your attention become less scattered. And slowly, the life you are creating inside begins to influence the life you experience outside. Not through force, through alignment. Your final challenge is simple. For 7 days, do not ask the universe to prove that your desire is coming. Instead, become someone who is ready to receive it. Prepare, practice, act, release. And when uncertainty appears, remain steady. You do not need to know exactly how everything will happen. You only need to know what is yours to do next. Do that. Then take another step, and allow the rest to unfold. Chapter 10. You awaken to a calm, unshakable reality. The morning comes, and for the first time in a long time, you do not reach for your phone the moment you wake up. You simply lie there for a few seconds. You notice your breathing. You notice the quiet. There is still uncertainty in your life. There are still things you want. There are still questions without answers. But something inside you is different. You are not immediately afraid of what might happen. You are not searching for proof. You are not trying to control the entire day before it begins. You breathe, and you realize that peace does not require everything to be perfect. Peace can exist while life is still unfolding. This is where your deepest change begins. Not when every problem disappears. Not when every desire arrives. Not when every person finally understands you. Not when the universe gives you exactly what you expected. The deeper change happens when your inner state stops depending completely on external conditions. You have learned to notice your thoughts. You have learned to recognize fear beneath the surface. You have practiced changing your inner conversation. You have repeated new beliefs. You have practiced patience. You have learned to stop chasing results. You have practiced detachment. You have worked toward alignment. Now those practices begin coming together. The goal was never to become someone who never feels fear. The goal was to become someone who does not automatically obey fear. You can feel nervous and still breathe. You can feel uncertain and still act wisely. You can feel disappointed and still respect yourself. You can want something deeply and still release the need to control its timing. You can experience change without believing that your entire life is collapsing. That is a calm reality. It is not fragile. It does not depend on constant reassurance. It is built through practice. For a long time you may have believed that peace would arrive after the right result. You thought, when this happens, I will relax. When I get the money, I will feel safe. When that person chooses me, I will feel loved. When my work succeeds, I will feel worthy. When the problem is solved, I will finally breathe. But there is always another condition, another goal, another uncertainty, another problem. If peace is always placed after the next result, you may spend your entire life waiting for permission to feel okay. You are learning something different now. You can take care of what is in front of you and still experience peace. You can build a better future without rejecting the present. You can want more without believing that what you have is worthless. You can improve yourself without treating your current self as a failure. This is a major shift in consciousness. You stop using dissatisfaction as your only source of motivation. You begin using clarity. You do not need to hate your current life to create a better one. You can appreciate where you are while continuing to grow. That balance creates stability. Today, begin with one final morning practice. Before you look at your phone, place your hand over your chest. Take 5 slow breaths. Then say, I do not need to solve my whole life today. Pause. I will take care of what belongs to me. Pause. I can allow the rest to unfold. Pause. Then ask, what would a calm version of me do today? Do not search for a dramatic answer. Maybe the calm version of you would finish the task you have been avoiding. Maybe they would stop checking a message. Maybe they would have an honest conversation. Maybe they would rest without guilt. Maybe they would say no. Maybe they would say yes. Maybe they would simply slow down. Choose one action, then take it. This is how your new reality becomes practical. You do not wait for calm to make the decision. You make the decision from calm. Tomorrow, practice another form of stability. When something unexpected happens, do not respond immediately. Give yourself 10 seconds. 10 seconds may seem small, but those 10 seconds can create space between the event and your reaction. Someone sends a difficult message. Pause. Someone criticizes you. Pause. You receive unexpected news. Pause. Something does not go according to plan. Pause. Take one breath. Then ask, what is actually happening? This question separates facts from fear. Your mind may say, they hate me. The fact may simply be, they disagreed with me. Your mind may say, everything is ruined. The fact may be, one plan did not work. Your mind may say, I am going to lose everything. The fact may be, I do not know what will happen yet. This ability to separate facts from predictions is one of the strongest forms of emotional stability. You do not need to believe every story your mind creates. You can observe. You can question. You can choose. This week, create a final evening practice. Before sleep, write down 3 things. One thing you handled well. One thing you learned. One thing you are willing to release. Maybe you handled a difficult conversation without becoming defensive. Maybe you learned that you need better boundaries. Maybe you are willing to release the need to know when a result will arrive. Keep the practice simple. Do not turn it into another performance. You are not trying to become perfect. You are becoming aware. Awareness is the foundation of lasting change. When you know what is happening inside you, you can make better choices. When you do not know, old patterns can control you without your permission. You may eventually notice something subtle. Your triggers are not disappearing completely. They are becoming weaker. Something that once disturbed you for an entire day may now disturb you for an hour, then perhaps 30 minutes, then 10 minutes. Eventually, you may notice the thought and return to yourself quickly. That is not a small improvement. That is transformation. Your nervous system is learning that every uncomfortable moment does not require an emergency response. Your subconscious is learning that uncertainty can be tolerated. Your mind is learning that you can think before reacting. Your body is learning what calm feels like. And because you have repeated this enough times, calm becomes more accessible. You do not have to search for it as desperately. You know the way back. That is why repetition matters. You practiced breathing. You practiced affirmations. You practiced detachment. You practiced trust. You practiced alignment. Each practice seemed small on its own. Together, they changed your internal habits. You may also begin to notice that you no longer need as much external validation. You still appreciate encouragement. You still enjoy being loved. You still value recognition. But you do not need every person to confirm your worth. You can receive criticism without immediately collapsing. You can receive praise without becoming dependent on it. You can experience rejection without deciding that you are unworthy. You can experience success without becoming terrified of losing it. Your center is moving inward. That is what makes your reality more unshakable. Not because nothing can affect you, because you are no longer handing everything the power to define you. Consider someone named Sarah. For years, Sarah believed that peace would come after she achieved a certain level of success. She worked constantly. She checked messages late at night. She compared herself with people online. Whenever something went well, she felt relief. Then the fear returned. What if I lose this? What if someone becomes better than me? What if I fall behind? Eventually, she began practicing something different. Every morning, she spent 10 minutes without her phone. She wrote one intention. Every afternoon, she took a short walk without checking messages. Every night, she wrote down one thing she was proud of and one thing she was willing to release. She also stopped checking her work notifications after a certain hour. At first, these changes seemed insignificant, but over time, she noticed that her relationship with success had changed. She still wanted to succeed. She still worked hard. But success was no longer her only source of identity. She could rest. She could enjoy dinner. She could spend time with people she loved. She could make mistakes without immediately assuming that her career was collapsing. The outside world had not become perfectly safe. Her inner world had become more stable. That distinction matters. You cannot create a life without uncertainty. You can create a mind that knows how to meet uncertainty. You cannot guarantee that nobody will ever disappoint you. You can build enough self-respect to walk away when necessary. You cannot guarantee that every plan will succeed. You can develop enough resilience to adjust. You cannot guarantee that you will never lose anything. You can become someone who knows how to rebuild. That is a calm, unshakable reality. It is not built on guarantees. It is built on trust. Trust in your ability to respond. Trust in your ability to learn. Trust in your ability to begin again. Trust in your ability to release what no longer belongs. Trust in your ability to choose a better thought. Trust in your ability to remain present. There will still be moments when your old patterns return. Do not be surprised. Growth does not mean the old voice never speaks again. It means you recognize it faster. The old voice may say, "Check again." You answer, "I already took the necessary action." The old voice may say, "What if everything goes wrong?" You answer, "I will deal with what actually happens." The old voice may say, "You need this result." You answer, "I desire it, but my peace does not depend entirely on it." The old voice may say, "You are falling behind." You answer, "My path has its own timing." This is not weakness, it is mental discipline. You are choosing which voice gets to lead. There is also a deeper spiritual shift. You no longer see the universe as something you must constantly persuade. You stop asking for signs every hour. You stop trying to force outcomes through fear. You begin seeing life as something you participate in. You set intentions. You take action. You remain open. You listen. You adjust. You release. You trust. You understand that alignment is not about controlling every detail. It is about becoming clear enough to recognize what belongs to you. Sometimes the right move is action. Sometimes it is waiting. Sometimes it is leaving. Sometimes it is staying. Sometimes it is speaking. Sometimes it is silence. Sometimes the sign is not an external event. Sometimes the sign is your growing clarity. You realize that a certain situation no longer fits. You realize that a certain habit is hurting you. You realize that you have been asking the wrong question. You realize that you do not need to chase. That awareness itself is valuable. You are becoming more conscious of the choices you make. That is awakening in a practical sense. You are no longer living entirely from automatic patterns. You are watching yourself. You are choosing. You are correcting. You are becoming deliberate. And this continues long after tonight. There is no final day when you become permanently calm. There will be difficult seasons. There will be unexpected losses. There will be days when your confidence disappears. There will be moments when you panic, but you will know what to do. Return to your breath. Return to the present. Separate facts from predictions. Ask what you can control. Take the next useful action. Release what does not belong to you. Then continue. That is your foundation. When you know how to return, you no longer need to fear every moment of losing your balance. You know you can come back. This is why your new reality is unshakable, not because it never moves, because it knows how to recover. A tree does not need every day to be calm to remain alive. Your life does not need every circumstance to be perfect for you to remain grounded. Storms come, plans change, people leave, new people arrive, opportunities open, other opportunities close. You grow, you outgrow, you begin again. Through all of this, you can keep returning to yourself. Tonight, do something simple. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Take 5 slow breaths. Think about the person you were when fear controlled your decisions. Do not judge that person. That version of you was trying to protect you. Fear often begins as protection. You do not need to hate your old patterns. You only need to stop allowing them to lead. Then say, "I forgive myself for the fear I carried." Pause. "I trust myself to respond differently now." Pause. "I release the need to control what I cannot control." Pause. "I choose peace without waiting for perfect circumstances." Stay quiet for a moment. Let the words settle. Then open your eyes. Do not look for a sign. Do not demand a feeling. Simply continue. Tomorrow, live the practice. If you feel anxious, breathe. If you feel uncertain, pause. If you feel rejected, protect your self-respect. If you feel excited, stay grounded. If you receive something you wanted, appreciate it. If you lose something, allow yourself to feel it without turning the loss into a prediction about your entire future. Keep moving. This is what lasting transformation looks like. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like not sending the message you would have regretted. Sometimes it looks like sleeping instead of checking your phone. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like asking for help. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like trying again. Sometimes it looks like sitting quietly and accepting that you do not know. Those small moments are where your new reality is built. You are no longer asking, "How do I make sure nothing goes wrong?" You are asking, "How do I remain myself when something goes wrong?" That is a better question. It gives you power without pretending you control life. You are no longer asking, "How do I make the universe give me exactly what I want?" You are asking, "How do I become aligned with the person I want to be?" That is a deeper intention. You are no longer asking, "When will the result arrive?" You are asking, "What can I do today?" That is grounded trust. You are no longer asking, "How do I prevent loss?" You are asking, "How do I love and live without abandoning myself?" That is detachment. You are no longer asking, "How do I stop every fearful thought?" You are asking, "How do I choose which thoughts deserve my attention?" That is awareness. These changes may seem small. They are not. They change the relationship you have with your own mind. And when that relationship changes, your life begins to feel different. You wake up differently. You make decisions differently. You speak differently. You respond differently. You recover differently. You carry yourself differently. Your reality becomes calmer because you are no longer fighting every moment that does not match your expectations. You learn to participate instead of control. You learn to receive instead of chase. You learn to act instead of obsess. You learn to trust instead of demand certainty. You learn to release without giving up. This is your new foundation, not perfection, not constant positivity, not endless manifestation techniques, presence, discipline, trust, awareness, detachment, alignment, and the willingness to begin again. Your final challenge is not to become a different person overnight. It is to live these principles for the next 30 days. For 30 days, protect your morning attention. Practice one grounded affirmation. Take one useful action toward what matters. Pause before reacting. Release what you cannot control. Keep one promise to yourself. And each night, ask, "Did I live from fear today or from trust?" If the answer is fear, do not punish yourself. Begin again tomorrow. If the answer is trust, appreciate it. Then practice again. Do not chase perfection. Build consistency, because the calm you are seeking is not somewhere far away. It is built every time you choose a steady response, every time you breathe before reacting, every time you release the need for immediate proof, every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you accept what you cannot change, every time you take action without demanding certainty, every time you choose peace while life is still unfolding. That is your awakening. You are not becoming someone who never struggles. You are becoming someone who knows how to return. Return to your breath. Return to your values. Return to your own voice. Return to the present. Return to trust. And when life changes, as it always will, remember what you have learned. You do not need to control everything to be safe within yourself. You do not need every answer to take the next step. You do not need every person to stay to remain whole. You do not need every desire to arrive on your schedule to continue believing in life. You can want more. You can grow. You can build. You can love. You can receive. You can release. And through all of it, you can remain grounded. Tonight, close your eyes one final time. Take a slow breath, then another. Feel the quiet beneath the thoughts. You are here. This moment is here. The future has not arrived yet. You do not need to live it tonight. Tomorrow will bring what tomorrow brings. Your task is simple. Wake up, breathe, choose, act, release, trust. And when the mind begins searching for something to fear, answer calmly, I will meet what comes when it comes. Then return to your life. That is your challenge. Live today without demanding guarantees from tomorrow. Let your peace exist before the result. Let your trust exist before the proof. Let your life continue while the universe unfolds. And when uncertainty appears, do not panic. Breathe. You know what to do.